Carlotta Actis Barone is a fashion designer nowadays. It's a girl with, I think, her feet on the ground, and she doesn't think to make the difference. She doesn't have the presumption of making the difference in the world, but obviously she wants to make her voice heard, bringing to the surface concepts which are already around her, because I'm a very curious person. I'm very aware of what's going on around me, and yes, I just try to enhance through my art, sort of saying what I see around myself. I was brought to this job I can't say since a very young age, because I only discovered I had this passion in my 20s, even though then I found out that I was passionate about fashion even before. I just didn't discover it as my true aim in life. I think also thanks to my parents, because my mom is an artist, a visual artist, my father is a writer, and I've always been brought around appreciating this kind of things, even though I couldn't really appreciate it when I was very little. Maybe I was annoyed and I didn't like it very much, but then obviously beauty, it's all around us, and they made me discover this, and so they always pushed me and nurtured me. And yes, and when I was in my 20s, I found out that this was the way I could express myself in the world. In my case, I'm very attentive on social matters. For example, my first collection was based on feminism. Not because I'm particularly fond of it. I mean, obviously I do believe in women's rights, but because reading a book I came across the suffragettes movement, and I started obviously then living in London, which was the second biggest nation that grew up this sort of current. I started getting interested in it, and I developed my first collection, and that's the way I always use also after my first collection. So first it was the suffragettes, then I had the fight against fair trade, for example, and so I did a collection based on Inuits, and all my collections start from a social matter to which then I associate imagery that I go to research. So it's a discovery for myself on the first place, and I try just to show it up to the rest of the world. I don't pretend to invent anything new. I just want to bring to the surface my own view on something which is already latent in history, and express it through shades, colors, and everything else that goes in the collection. And I think that the most difficult thing I came across was trying to commercialize my product. Obviously, especially when you're young, when you're doing something for the first time, you're over the top. You just want to make unwearable things, more sculpture than actual clothes. Then you come to realize that obviously your product, yes, can be artistic, but it's also something that has to be sold. And so you need to sort of find a middle point, a compromise. And so you have to market your product. You can still be very creative and be very artistic, but you have to meet the market. And I think that finding that balance is been the most difficult thing for me, and I'm still trying to do it, and I try to get it better as I go along. But if you look at a university students' collection, yes, they are beautiful, they will never sell as they stand at that moment. So I think it's not only my problem, it's finding the balance, yes, definitely, with the market. The role of my parents in my career has been very important. As I said before, I'm a daughter of art, we say in Italy, because both my parents are artists in different ways. My mother is a visual artist and my father is a writer. And so in their own ways, they've always pushed me to cultivate my own art. They never told me I had to be an artist or I had to become somebody. They just told me that in order to enjoy my life to the full, I obviously had to discover what other people envision of life was. and what they could communicate through art. And so since I was very little, I've been pushed to do this. Obviously, being artists themselves, they've always wanted me to nurture my passions. They never stopped me. I hear a lot of stories about people that want to be fashion designer or a painter or anything else, and maybe the parents don't allow them to. My parents, obviously, on the contrary, never did so, and actually not only economically but also emotionally helped me till the point I am now. I could never be where I am without my parents. And now I'm also interacting more with my mother, because obviously she's a visual artist and she's closer to my field than my father. But we are interacting, like for example, my mom designed my latest prints, and so she was a part of my collection. My latest collection was inspired to her paintings, so we are joined. So thanks to Hoplites, I had already, this is my third collection that's coming to life. And first of all, the first advantage is the made in Italy. Made in Italy, it's synonymous of quality. But when you've got to deal with all the factories, with, I don't know, sourcing fabrics, for example, or buttons or any other accessories, or getting your patterns done, it can be very difficult, because if you do it yourself, you need to deal with a lot of people, and you sort of never have the time to concentrate on your actual job, which is designing. Thanks to Hoplites, you don't have this problem anymore. You just speak with them, and they will make your dreams come true, and they will make it come true in Italy. So with quality, and so you sort of jump over all the fussiness of having to deal with the actual factories that maybe will not even understand your dream, because you start from selling a dream, which is your design, and then you need, exactly as I said before, to find the right balance and make it come true. And I think that thanks to Hoplites, I'm finding this process much easier.